Welcome to the World Wire Update. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more updates and thrilling short scenes. Canals are the arteries of global commerce, man-made waterways that have shaped economies and power for centuries. From the Grand Canal in China to the Suez and Panama Canals, these shortcuts save time, fuel, and money, making global trade possible. Recent crises, like the Suez blockage and Panama's drought, expose just how fragile these routes are, sparking urgent calls for alternatives. The world's largest ships already outgrow the Panama Canal, fueling the dream of a new, bigger passage. Enter Nicaragua, a $50 billion vision to carve a new canal between the Atlantic and Pacific, promising to transform global shipping and raise big questions about power, prosperity, and the environment. The Nicaragua Canal, a bold and ambitious project led by the Chinese-backed HK&D Group, aims to carve a new maritime route connecting the Pacific Ocean with the Caribbean Sea. This vision, decades in the making, seeks to transform not just Nicaragua, but the entire landscape of global shipping. The canal's proposed path cuts through the heart of Central America, promising to open up new opportunities for trade and commerce on a scale never before seen in the region. With a staggering price tag of $50 billion, the project dwarfs Nicaragua's entire economy. It's a massive undertaking that has drawn international attention, and it holds the promise of reshaping the nation's future. Supporters believe the canal could turn Nicaragua into a key player in global logistics, attracting investment and modernizing infrastructure across the country. The canal will stretch an astonishing 173 miles, over 3 times longer than the Panama Canal, cutting across Lake Nicaragua, the largest freshwater lake in Central America, and linking 2 mighty oceans. This engineering feat would create a new artery for international shipping, potentially easing congestion and offering a vital, alternative route. Construction officially began in late 2024, marked by a high-profile groundbreaking ceremony. The ambitious timeline calls for completion within 5 years, with the goal of opening the canal to commercial traffic by 2030. The early phases have already seen a surge of activity as workers and machines begin the monumental task of excavation. Designed to accommodate the world's largest container ships, the Nicaragua Canal is positioned as a strategic alternative to the Panama Canal. Its deep and wide channels are engineered for the next generation of maritime giants, aiming to capture a significant share of global shipping and change the dynamics of international trade. For Nicaragua, the promise is nothing short of transformative. The project is expected to create tens of thousands of jobs, both directly and indirectly, and could potentially double the country's GDP. Local communities hope for new schools, hospitals, and infrastructure as economic development ripples outward from the canal zone. But with such high hopes come equally high stakes and enormous risks. The project faces environmental concerns, questions about its financial viability, and uncertainty over its long-term impact on local communities. As the vision takes shape, the world watches to see if Nicaragua's bold gamble will pay off. The Nicaragua Canal's scale dwarfs Panama's, not just in ambition but in sheer physical size. This proposed waterway would be one of the largest engineering projects in modern history, aiming to reshape global shipping routes and redefine the region's economic landscape. At 173 miles long, the Nicaragua Canal would be significantly wider and deeper than Panama's, designed to accommodate the world's largest ships, vessels that the Panama Canal simply can't handle, even after its recent expansion. This means supertankers and mega container ships could pass through with ease, opening new possibilities for global trade. While both canals offer a shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific, Nicaragua's project is intended to break Panama's near monopoly on interoceanic shipping. By introducing a direct competitor, it could spark a new era of competition, potentially driving down shipping costs worldwide and increasing efficiency for countless industries. Panama's century-old canal is a proven, reliable link, handling millions of tons of cargo each year. But its reliance on freshwater for its lock system, combined with recent droughts and climate change, has exposed serious vulnerabilities, sometimes forcing restrictions on ship size and traffic. In contrast, Nicaragua's route would leverage the vast expanse of Lake Nicaragua as a natural waterway. However, dredging a natural lake and altering its ecosystem raises significant environmental concerns, sparking protests and debate over the project's long-term impact on local communities and wildlife. If completed, the Nicaragua Canal could dramatically shift major trade routes, especially for shipping between Asia and the US East Coast. By saving hundreds of miles per journey, it promises faster delivery times and reduced fuel costs, potentially transforming the economics of global trade. The project is a bold bet on the future of maritime commerce and the ever-increasing size of ships. It represents a vision of progress, innovation, and the relentless drive to connect the world more efficiently. But with enormous costs, environmental risks, and political uncertainty, the Nicaragua Canal is also a leap into the unknown, one that could reshape the world, or remain an unfinished dream. For China, the Nicaragua Canal is a strategic masterstroke, part of its Belt and Road Initiative, and a direct challenge to US influence in the Americas. By building the canal, China secures a new trade route, reduces reliance on Panama, and projects power in the Western Hemisphere. For Nicaragua, the partnership is a once-in-a-generation chance to escape poverty, create jobs, and become a global logistics hub. The government envisions new ports, airports, and free trade zones, hoping to double GDP and transform the nation's destiny. But the deal gives HKND a 50-year concession, raising questions about sovereignty and who truly benefits. For both countries, the canal is a high-stakes gamble, one that could reshape their futures. The Nicaragua Canal has sparked global debate, welcomed by shippers eager for competition, but met with anxiety by neighbors and rivals. Panama sees a direct threat to its revenue and status. Central American countries worry about environmental fallout. The US is especially uneasy. A Chinese-built canal in its backyard challenges its influence and raises fears of military or strategic use. Washington has called for transparency and environmental review, but skepticism runs deep. The canal is more than a shipping lane. It's a new front in the contest for global power. As construction advances, the world is watching, and the stakes are geopolitical as much as economic. The chessboard of world trade is shifting. If completed, the Nicaragua Canal could transform global shipping, opening a new route for the world's largest vessels. It would shorten Asia-US East Coast journeys by up to 500 miles, saving time and fuel across thousands of voyages. Competition with Panama could drive down transit fees, lower shipping costs, and benefit consumers worldwide. The canal's deep water ports and free trade zones could turn Nicaragua into a regional logistics and manufacturing hub. New supply chains and economic ecosystems may emerge, reshaping trade patterns across the Americas. The project promises redundancy. If one canal is blocked, global trade has a backup, but these gains come with profound risks. The canal's path through Lake Nicaragua threatens a vital freshwater ecosystem, home to rare species and a lifeline for thousands. Dredging and ship traffic risk contamination, invasive species, and irreversible ecological damage. The route cuts through rainforests and indigenous lands, displacing up to 120,000 people and fueling protests. Critics say environmental reviews were rushed, and compensation for displaced communities is inadequate. The government's sweeping land powers and lack of transparency have deepened public distrust. The project's legitimacy is under fire as Nicaraguans weigh immediate costs against uncertain future rewards. By late 2025, construction is well underway on the ambitious Nicaragua Canal, despite fierce opposition from local communities, international environmental groups, and a growing chorus of critics. The project, which has been debated for years, is now a reality, with bulldozers and cranes transforming the landscape at a breathtaking pace. Yet, the air is thick with tension, as protesters gather at the edges of the construction zone, holding signs and chanting for their land and livelihoods. With permits finally granted and billions in funding secured from international investors, massive dredging and excavation operations are set to begin in earnest. The project has mobilized tens of thousands of workers from across Nicaragua and beyond, creating a bustling hive of activity. Heavy machinery rumbles day and night, reshaping the earth and waterways, while engineers and planners coordinate the complex logistics required for a project of this scale. The world is watching closely. International media outlets have set up camp near the site, broadcasting updates as the canal takes shape. Any delays, engineering setbacks, or political missteps could threaten the project's viability and spark global debate. Investors, governments, and environmentalists alike are monitoring every development, knowing that the stakes are incredibly high. China and Nicaragua's leaders stand to gain the most if the canal succeeds, promising economic growth and a new era of influence. But for displaced communities, whose homes and farms lie in the canal's path, and for environmentalists warning of irreversible damage to fragile ecosystems, the risks are profound. Tensions flare as families are relocated, and activists demand accountability. Meanwhile, the US and Panama face mounting strategic and economic challenges. The new canal threatens to shift the balance of power in global shipping, potentially diverting trade routes and altering the dynamics of international commerce. Analysts debate the long-term impacts as governments weigh their options in this rapidly changing landscape. The Nicaragua Canal is a high-stakes gamble, one that could redefine not just trade, but also politics, the environment, and the future of Central America for decades to come. Its success or failure will echo far beyond Nicaragua's borders, shaping the region's destiny. As the earth is carved and the protests grow louder, the world waits with bated breath to see whose bet will pay off. Will the canal usher in prosperity and progress, or will the costs, human, environmental, and political, prove too great to bear?